Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I finally got around to watching Rocky 4, Rocky vs. Drago, the director's cut that came out like last week or so. And my feelings are mixed. They're very mixed. Because I'll just give a quick rundown of what I think of the franchise so far and just overall thoughts. The first one, it's a classic. Obviously, it's really good. Fantastic movie. Second one, I think, is pretty good, but a lot of it is soap opera drama, and I didn't like that. The third one is my favorite of the series. For me, it mixes seriousness and then some cheesiness and some 80s stuff, and I love how Apollo Creed steps up and becomes Rocky's mentor, and how it's so cool how in the first two movies they're beating up on each other, and then after that it's like they're best friends now, and they're really they work really well together. And then we get to the fourth one. And I am not a fan of the fourth one. I hate how they kill off Apollo Creed, and I've always hated it. As a kid, I was like, oh, like, come on. Like, he just became his mentor. Why'd you kill him off? Like, ugh. I hated that. And I hated how cheesy it was. It was over the top cheesiness. I really hated that aspect of it. And I hated just all the silliness. The only thing that I thought was okay out of all the silly things in the whole film was the robot. Because I thought, in Rocky 3, Paulie's mad that Rocky won't give him any support, any handouts, whatever. Remember, he smashes up the Rocky arcade machine, and so in the fourth one it kind of makes sense that he would give him the newest technology and make him happy on his birthday. It makes sense. It's a jump off of the third one. And cell phones back then didn't look natural. They looked big and bulky. So I don't understand why it would be such a big deal that it's a robot. Like, it's more understandable. I mean, look at the robots nowadays. They look stupid. They look like some children's toys that you get from Radio Shack or something. Like, they don't look good. They don't look like scary robots from films like, Terminator type robots. Like, those things look cool. The robots nowadays, they look dumb and wimpy and weak. And and then Rocky 5, I've never been able to sit through Rocky 5. It doesn't really grab me at all. More soap opera BS with him and his kids, and this Tommy, whatever his name is, and I really didn't care for Rocky 5 at all. Now, Rocky Balboa is my second favorite of the series. I love it. I think that it's a perfect sequel. It feels very final, and it feels like, how Halloween 2018 ignored all the sequels and then copied them? And, well, that didn't feel like a proper sequel to the series, because it felt like just a cheap thing. Oh, look, we're going to ignore all the sequels, but we're going to steal everything that they did and sort of copy and paste. Well, Rocky Balboa, it doesn't pretend that that the sequels didn't happen, and it feels like a better sequel in terms of that, if you compare those two films. It's such a great movie. Like, I really think that Rocky Balboa is underrated, and it's definitely, like, it's so good. I mean, just Rocky 1, 2, 3, and Balboa are just the perfect, just watch those, forget about Rocky 4 and 5, in my opinion. I mean, Rocky 4 had some good ideas, and we'll get to that when it comes to this film, but we still have the Creed series to talk about. Creed 1, it's boring, it's dull, it's dumb. I was really excited about it. I thought it was a fantastic idea to have the son of Apollo Creed grow up and be a boxer. Like, that sounds really cool. Like, that just, that just gets me all pumped up thinking about that idea. But then when you watch the movie, it just, I really didn't like it. And then, how Rocky, he had Talia Shire as a love interest, and she's hot. She was smoking hot Italian woman, and she was a very sweet character. She had sort of like this kind of, quote, uglified look to her because she was really unhappy, and it was really beautiful story how Rocky made her happy, and how he sort of it was such an awesome romance. It's really the highlight of the first Rocky film, which I know goes against me complaining about the soap opera elements of the later films, but the sequels are really more about the spectacle. And so when you add cheesy spectacle to soap opera drama, it doesn't feel natural. Like, just do an experiment. Watch, I don't know, Terminator 2. Watch a clip of an action sequence from that film. And then, right after that, I want you to watch a scene from The Days of Our Lives or General Hospital. Do that. And then tell me that feels natural. I'm waiting. Come back when you do, because when you come back, you'll be like, oh, I see what he means. And so, Creed 1 is trash. I mean, you got Tessa Thompson, ew. And she's his love interest, like, no thanks. What a trash romance that was. Like, what a boring character. Like, all I could remember was the Dasani product placement that they had in this shit film. But I will say that Sylvester Stallone, I thought that he did a great job, and I loved his performance. I thought he deserved an Oscar for that performance. And the final fight was fine, I guess. I mean, they were bragging about these fights being, like, spectacular. They really didn't wow me at all. Like, they were really boring. The whole movie was just boring. And then the second one came out, and the second one was a piece of fucking garbage. I mean, it was just the worst it could have possibly been. They did a stupid rap cover of Gonna Fly Now. Instead of creating, like, their own song to go with the movie that would have been a rap version, they just had to, take Gonna Fly Now and make a rap version. That was stupid. They could have had a really good rap song, maybe, if it was good, and make it about the movie, like in Rocky 4, you had Hearts on Fire and all those songs that are iconic at this point. Why couldn't you do that and do that with Creed 2 instead of just taking Gonna Fly Now and copying it? So that's what I think of the series. The best, how I rank them is Part 3, Rocky Balboa, Part 1, Part 2, Part 4, and then Part 5, and then Creed 2. Or I guess I would put Creed above Part 5, but they're trash. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. And wow, it's 9 minutes. I still haven't talked about the director's cut. Maybe I'll put a timestamp when I upload this, so that you guys can jump ahead if you just want to hear my review of this movie that just came out technically. And first off, I have only seen the fourth one once. That is how much I didn't like it. I thought that it was cheesy, over the top, cartoony. I hated how cartoony it was. It was just so, ugh. And in that regard, I really like what this version did, and how it sort of changed the cartooniness into just, it felt more natural. It felt a lot better. I really liked, in general, this version. I think that this version is slightly better because of that feeling. That it's not a cartoony feeling. It's a normal feeling that you get from a Rocky film. He was talking about his original idea for Rocky IV and how it was inspired off of this Nazi story about a Nazi boxer versus an American boxer. And I thought, that's a fantastic idea. Like, wow, what a great idea to take that and then just put it in the 80s with the Soviet Union. Like, that's really cool. But the movie, it came off completely the wrong way for me. And so I really think that this director's cut actually, it showed me his vision. It showed me his real vision of I just got the feeling that I think that he wanted to give originally, and that he just wasn't able to because his ego was in the way, or he was just a little dumb, and he just wasn't making the best decisions with the film. I mean, there's some really cartoony things. I mean, they didn't take it out, which I guess you couldn't, but like the whole spectacle thing with Apollo Creed dancing around and in the Uncle Sam outfit, like, oh God, that was so over the top and so, it makes me feel like I'm just shoving an entire spray cheese can into my mouth and suffocating and choking on the cheese, just drizzling cheese down my throat, just too much cheese, that was how bad Rocky IV was in terms of the cheese. So it started off, and automatically there were some really weird editing choices that made it more of a mixed bag for me. And one of those weird editing choices was, in the beginning, they sort of, instead of doing just the final fight of part 3, they did like a recap of part 3, where they did the scene where Rocky tosses his helmet at the statue, and then they showed the first fight, then they showed him talking to Apollo for the first time and talking about the Eye of the Tiger, or I mean, for the first time, like, in their new relationship. And then they showed the final fight. And it was really because they were trying to connect. I could see what he was doing, because they were trying to connect this fourth one to the third one a lot more. And one of the things that I really liked of the editing things that they did was that at the end of the film, they actually played Eye of the Tiger. And I thought that was a fantastic choice. And it actually worked so much better in this movie than it did in Rocky III when it was originally in Rocky III. So I would say that adding Eye of the Tiger was the best thing about this director's cut. And I would say that, it's definitely like a really triumphant scene compared to the original, which was just like, you knew he was going to win. He's Rocky. Why wouldn't he win? They already had a defeat in the movie. He can't get defeated again. So I thought that was my favorite part of this movie, was that Eye of the Tiger playing at the end. That just felt so, it just felt so perfect compared to the third one's use of it, overuse of it. So I'll say that. That is the best thing about this director's cut. Another weird thing was the whole sequence where Rocky is mourning Apollo Creed. They play 5 minutes of bluish black and white flashbacks, and it just showing him driving and then showing the flashbacks, and it felt really overindulgent and really unnecessary, and kind of like it didn't need it. I can't remember the original. I like the scene overall with him driving and seeing his eyes in the darkness driving through the night. It's a great kind noir scene for a Rocky film, but just having all those flashbacks was just really over the top, and I didn't like that. And another, well, let's just talk about the fights. Well, first off, still, Apollo Creed dies, which is trash. And I hate that because he should never have died in the first place. And I think that will always be a disadvantage in the film. And I think that Sylvester Stallone actually remedied that because he played that Eye of the Tiger at the end because, in my opinion, it was like he was trying to make it to where even though Apollo was dead, he was still the one calling the shots with Rocky. Like, you could tell the idea was just to connect it more with Apollo instead of his friend. I can't remember his friend's name, but I thought that was cool. That really worked well for me because this felt a lot more connected to the third one than the fourth one did. You know, the fourth one just felt to me like a big blockbuster spectacle film. It didn't feel like really like a good sequel to the third one, the way that this director's cut did. So I'll say that. But the final fight with Rocky and Drago, I was not a fan of in this version. I really didn't like it, and I didn't like, well, here's the thing. I like some stuff about it, like he was talking about how he wanted to make it more of an equal fight, and I think that there were some good moments like that came off well, where it did feel like this epic fight, like Godzilla vs. King Kong type of fight, but then it just kept going. And they both kept on having these climactic fighting moments. And usually in a proper film fight, you'd only have like 3 of those moments or something, like 2 or 3. You wouldn't just have like over and over again, Rocky punches Drago in the face, and then slow motion, and then and then like a sound, like a big sound, and like ooh, and then you have Drago, and Drago punches Rocky in the face, boom. Just over and over again. I really didn't like that, and that's where the editing got really bad, because he decided to put all these clips on top of each other like a collage. And so this fight was going on, and there's just all these things copy and pasted on top of each other. It looks so dumb. It looked like a video game. It looked like a YouTube tribute video to the Rocky series. It looked terrible. I was like, why would they do this? Like, because in the documentary he talked about wanting to make it feel like a more natural fight, like a real fight. But in the real world, you wouldn't see the overlay of the scorecard and Apollo's friend and Paulie, all these people. You wouldn't see all those things like just layered on top of the actual fight happening. You wouldn't see Rocky and Drago fighting over the top of the crowd watching. Like, they literally put their images inside the crowd watching, to where it's like these ghost images. It's really weird and bizarre, and I really didn't like those editing choices. But at the same time, I overall still I like this version a lot better than the fourth one, the original. There are a lot of great takes that he gets, that he talked about in the cut, where he talked about, the documentary that he made about making it. He got some really good acting out of everyone. Like, in the original too, I hated Adrian. She became the nagging wife caricature. Well, in this director's cut, it's a lot better. She's so much better, and she really does a great job acting in this version, and it's just she's a lot more likable, and I really liked her character in this movie. And Paulie, you had that great scene with Paulie that really made me feel something, with him talking about wanting to be Rocky, and then it turns into a joke. But still, it's just such great acting in this version. And so I really appreciated that Sylvester Stallone, that he as far as I can tell, I can't remember the original, so maybe some of the stuff I'm just not, maybe it was already there in the original, but as far as I can tell, he added this stuff, and I really think that there were some great performances in this movie. Like, it was just so much better than the original, like just lifetimes better. But it still had these weird editing choices that kind of dragged it down. And, so I think that that's something to worry about. If you're excited about watching the film because you think the fighting will be better, I don't really think it will be, because it's not, so go in with the expectations of just wanting to watch Rocky 4 again. And then it'll surprise you. It'll make you feel better, because maybe you'll like it more than I did in those parts, and so maybe you'll like it more. I think that Sylvester Stallone is really good at doing director's cuts, though, because I watched his Rambo 5 Last Blood director's cut, and that was a lot better than the theatrical version as well, because it made a lot more sense. It felt a lot more cohesive. And so I really think that he should continue doing director's cuts. And overall, though, I would say that this movie, it's still not as good as it could have been, because Apollo died, because it is still a little cartoony and over the top. And I think that those things are still problems that, it's just, they'll never be fixed, because they can't be. He can't reshoot. He can't rewrite. That's done. That age is over. So I really think that he did the best job with the stuff that he had. I just wish that the final fight wouldn't have had all that over-editing, because I was enjoying... I mean, he talked, too, about how artificial some of the shots from the original looked, but there was this really, really bad shot in this director's cut where Drago, or Rocky, was punching the other on the top of the forehead, and it literally just looked like they were like brushing their hair back. Like, it looks so bad. If you guys don't know that shot, I won't be able to, I'm not gonna go find it, but it's a really like bad looking shot of just like this brushing over the forehead and the hair. Like, it's really bad. But man, I gotta say something else too, is that nobody talks about Ivan Drago's wife, but man, she is smoking hot. Wow. And I loved how, I can see from the original movie that he was trying to draw a parallel between how Drago's wife was very supportive of him, and, all of these fighters, they have these supportive wives. And so it seems like kind of like a message to me that, if you have someone who loves you, it really makes you a lot stronger than you were alone, or you were before. Because there was that great scene where Adrian arrives and she's training with Rocky, or she's helping him train. And it was just I love that training montage. I mean, I've never done a review of the original, but it was such a great montage, like having all those different montages together. And it was such a fantastic sequence. I really don't think he needed to edit any of that, honestly, because it was just so well edited. But anyways, I'm going to rate this movie in terms of food. I would give this movie a great giant steak, because after watching this movie, I felt pumped up. I felt really pumped up. I haven't been to the gym in a long time. This movie really pumped me up, though. It really made me feel like I had just worked out, or I was on the verge of just wanting to crush the fucking weights hardcore. And so this movie really accomplishes that. I mean, if there's a testosterone shortage, you should just show men this movie, and it will fix that problem, because it just pumps you up, and it like with Drago, it just injects you with manliness, of just the macho man feeling. Like, if you're not feeling like a man, and watch this movie and you'll feel like one for damn sure. So we got here a giant ribeye steak, properly seasoned, a little over seasoned, and that's going to be representative of the editing. It's a little over seasoned with some weird things that sort of like pretentious chefs would add onto steaks. And it's all in the seasoning of the rub. Just a little over seasoned, but it's perfectly well done. Medium well. That's what I meant. Medium well is how I like my steaks. Medium rare or medium well. Anywhere in the range of those temperatures. And on the side of that, you got a big ass potato cut up with some butter inside. Some real butter. Some manly butter. Some yellow. You can tell how real butter is by how yellow it is, because butter should be yellow. Yeah, you got some pure Irish butter just slapped in between them potato wedges. Just melting all over it. Just want to dig in there with my fork and eat it. No, fuck that. I'm gonna pick it up with my hands and just munch down, just chew on the crispy skin and just eat that whole potato. That's representative of the side characters like Adrian and Drago's wife, who doesn't get enough credit. She's hardly in the film. I kind of wish there was more of her, because it would have added a lot more to my enjoyment of the film. And then, if that wasn't enough, if that meal wasn't manly enough for you, you got a big ass milkshake on the side. Just a giant chocolate milkshake with just whipped cream and chocolate straw, and you're just, oh yeah, a thick milkshake. That I know what you're thinking. That is not representative of Apollo Creed. That would be racist. No, it is representative of the music. Okay, because the music in this one is possibly the best music in the series. Because the thing about most of the other Rocky films is that they just rely on, "Can I fly now?" Okay, they just rely on that song just too much. And then Rocky 3, it's just "Eye of the Tiger" the whole film. But in Rocky 4, you got all these different great songs that play throughout the movie. And in this one, you got "Eye of the Tiger" at the end as well. So he just gave you some extra shit. He just gave you some chocolate syrup on that milkshake. So that's what I think about the Rocky versus Drago director's cut. I really enjoyed it, and I'm thankful that Sylvester Stallone took the time to re-edit it and to fix some things that needed fixing, because not all filmmakers have the courage to do that. You got all these filmmakers. They're too proud. They're too biased. They're too in the way of themselves to admit that there was something wrong with what they worked really hard on. Sylvester Stallone, he got injured making this movie. And so it's great that he saw that it needed some fixing, and that he fixed it, because, wow, it's not night and day, especially, but it is. You can tell the difference. Please like this video if you liked it, if you enjoyed my screeching, which I'm just trying to put on a show because it makes these reviews more fun than just, hey everybody, I give this movie a good review. It was really good. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, and please like and subscribe. It makes it a lot more enjoyable. And then please comment, tell me what you thought of the director's cut. I know that not everyone has seen it, so I would highly recommend you check it out. This spoiling stuff for this movie isn't going to matter. And then please subscribe to our channel for more movie reviews exactly like this. And I promise I will not always be like this, like I'm hopped up on something. I'm not. It's just, I don't know. This movie pumped me up, though. It pumped me up for this review. I was tired and just this morning. Then I watched it and I was like, yeah! Let's make some noise, Rocky! Yeah! Let's box! Let's spar! Let's get some brain damage together! Yeah! That's what I was like ever. So, goodbye, everybody. See you soon.